Right guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are doing a Premier League predictions video. I do apologise, however, if you can't see me very well or the audio is awful. I did not bring my microphone, but I did forget to record a Premier League predictions video. So we're doing that today. So it is what it is, but we're going to go through it. I saw everyone else releasing theirs and I thought, might as well do mine as well, because I did an early one, but this one might change a bit, and hopefully because everyone else is doing it, I might get a bit more views on that one now. So let's get into it. I'm just going to start from 20th and work my way up. I'm going to give some reasoning, but at the end of the day, it's my picks and it's just a prediction. It doesn't really matter, and your team could do way better than what I say, in my opinion, of someone who doesn't really matter. It's just an opinion. So let's start off with 20th place, which is Bournemouth for me. I just think that they have the weakest squad in the league, and it's not getting any better with signings. I'm not really a big fan of Bournemouth, right? And their signings that they've made haven't really given me much reason to say why they would stay in the league, and that is just the fact of the matter that I just don't think their squad's good enough. And it's kind of the same thing with Fulham, although Fulham have made some good signings, but they have lost some of their good players as well, so it's hard to say. Bournemouth have lost some good players as well, so it's hard to say either of these teams are going to really make it out of the relegation situation that I am putting them in. I like Fulham's team a lot more. They have signed some good players, and I really like some of their signings, but at the end of the day it's Fulham, so I just don't think they're going to stay in the league, and that is, it could be a really bad shout, and Fulham could easily get, like, they could get 15th or something with the signings they've made. I really do like their signings, but the fact that it's Fulham make me think that they are just going to get relegated, and I do apologise if you don't get relegated, but it's just a thing. Moving on to Everton, who I put in 18th place. Now, I know Everton fans don't like this because I said the exact same thing in the last video, but Everton, you haven't signed anyone really good enough. You've signed James Tarkowski, who is going to improve your defence, obviously, but he's not going to keep you in the league if you play as bad as you did last season. Like, James Tarkowski is a good player and he's good at fighting relegation, but he's not good enough to keep you in the league. You barely stayed up last season, and it's possible that you could stay up. I don't see them getting anywhere near top half, and it's just how it is for Everton these days. They've lost Richarlison, who is one of their best players in my opinion, when they were already struggling to score goals. Who's going to score the goals? Calvert-Lewin's always injured. They don't have a very good team right now. It's just hard to see where the goals in creation are actually coming from. As a team, they've always got a lot of injuries, and it's hard to say if the team will be able to stay fit for the whole season, and that is just an issue I have with Everton. I do like Everton, but I just don't see them staying up. But the main reason I have put them above Nottingham Forest, who is 17th for me, just staying up, is I really like Nottingham Forest signings. Like, they are really good. Like, bringing in Jesse Lingard is an amazing signing. Bringing in Dean Henderson as well. You have lost Jed Spence. It's a shame. But at the end of the day, you've got Williams from Liverpool as well, who is a good player, but he's obviously probably not going to be Jed Spence. Although championship tax is a real thing. We see this with strikers quite a lot. And Jed Spence could go to Tottenham and not even play a game. So you never know what could really happen there. But I just like Nottingham Forest as a team, as a club. And I like the improvements which they've made as well. Moving on to 16th, which is Leeds. Now, Leeds, they have lost Calvin Phillips, they have lost Rafinha, they've brought in unproven signings, which is the main reason why I can't say that they're going to do any better really than they did last season, just staying up in my opinion, but it's possible that they could get relegated. I would say it's very possible for anyone who is 16th and lower to get relegated quite easily. They could finish rock bottom, to be honest. Even Brentford, who is up next, who have obviously, they had a really good first season, but second season syndrome is a real thing in the Premier League. We've seen it many times. We saw it last season with Leeds, who was a team nearly got relegated. Then we've seen it with Sheffield United, who had an amazing first season, nearly getting into Europe, get relegated. It's a hard thing to do, to stay in the Premier League for 2 seasons. That first season you can run off adrenaline. That second season it's natural, and your talent will show in that second season how good your team is. And I think for Brentford, they've lost Christian Eriksen, who really helped them when they were struggling, when they could have got pulled into that relegation battle, which is a major factor that I think a lot of people aren't considering. The Eriksen loss is one of the most major people that they could lose. In my opinion, it's more significant than losing Calvin Phillips for Leeds, in my opinion. But then obviously Leeds have then lost Rafinha as well. So it kind of creates a massive gap in the Leeds team. They've lost two of their best players, arguably their best two players over the last however many seasons. And then we move on to 14th, which is Southampton. A lot of people are saying Southampton's going to go down. I don't think their team is very good, but Southampton are a team which people underestimate a lot. Even me in the past have underrated Southampton in a great degree, and I do think Southampton are always a surprise team where people think they're going to do a lot worse. A lot of people in the past years have put them getting relegated. They usually have a very good start and have a bad end to the season. Even the middle period isn't great for them. So it's hard to say with Southampton, but I do think they have enough to stay in the league and feel comfortable in the position they are in. Moving on to 13th, I've put Wolves. Now, Wolves, again, they had a very good start to the season last season and kind of tailed off dramatically. It's a good team, haven't made any significant signings. It's hard to say whether the team will be enough attacking wise. Obviously, who is going to score the goals, which is a major issue for this team. The defence isn't bad, but who scores the goals in this team is the major issue for me, is the main reason why I think they won't get near the top 10. Moving on to Brighton, who I have put in 12th. I think Brighton are going to have a slight fall off. They had a very good start to last season and progressed very well as a team and played the way which they should have for the past few seasons. Again, it's just the issue of scoring goals with this team. They've got a great defence, but it's an ageing defence as well, which you've got to remember. And who is scoring the goals? I know they brought in new signings and stuff, but they're unproven in the Premier League. So for me, it's hard to put them any higher than 12th because I just don't see who's scoring the goals and playing especially well for the team. That's just my opinion, and I may be completely wrong, but this is, again, just an opinion. So we're going to move on to 11th, who is Palace. Now, I have put Palace very high, mainly because I like their team, I like their signings that they've made. I just think this is a very young team that will progress extremely well together, and this team will have great continuity, in my opinion, and have great chemistry and produce at a level over time which gets them to that top 10. I just don't think they're going to get there this season because, I don't know, it's just there's a lot of other good teams in the league, but I do really like Palace and I think they are a really exciting team. Finally, moving into the top 10, I have put Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have made their signings quite early, which is also a good sign. Making signings early is a sign of a good team and progression because that means you can bed them into the side quicker and make them part of the team a lot quicker, which is always a good thing for chemistry, you know? So it's a good thing that they've done that. They've brought in quality players in positions which are needed. I think that this team is going to do very well. Coutinho is a good player, but can he perform over a long period of time? We haven't seen it since he was at Liverpool. It's hard to say how good this team is actually going to be until we see them play. You've got a lot of players, especially the new signings coming in, who haven't played in the Prem before, which isn't a problem, but it just means that they're unproven. So it's hard to say how well they are actually going to do, but that is why I have put them in 10th, because I think they will definitely get a top half finish, in my opinion, because their team has improved. It's just whether everyone can stay fit. Moving on to 9th, I've put Newcastle. Now, this is a major jump for a club in the Premier League, probably one of the biggest ones I've put in this list. I just really think after looking at Newcastle's team and their signings, they're not amazing signings by any means, but they are solid signings, and I just think that the vibes around the club are going to make the team perform at a level which is better. The start of last season, for example. The start of last season was a very toxic club, and they also didn't have a very good manager at the time, so it's a bit hard to say how good the team actually was. They weren't performing at the level which they should have been as players as well. Now they have a good manager, they've brought in new players, the vibe of the club is very good, and I just think the team is going to perform a lot better than people think. I think actually a lot of people think they're going to get top 10, which I think is quite surprising that a lot of people think that. Some people are even saying that they're going to get Europe, which I don't agree with whatsoever. But I do think the team is going to improve a lot, and I think the signings that they've made won't make them European contenders. They won't try and compete for Europe, in my opinion, this season unless they made major signings, which I can't see really happening. I do think, however, they are going to make strides in the Premier League and perform at a lot better level than they did last season anyway. Moving on to 8th, we have West Ham. Now, I really like West Ham. West Ham could have gone 8th or 7th. The reason I've put them 8th, just below Leicester City, which we'll talk about in a minute, is mainly because of the situation of Europe which they have. I just feel that West Ham's squad isn't deep enough to deal with Europe as well as the Premier League. So I just think that the team may lack a bit of depth in those situations. That is the main reason why I've put them 8th, because I think 7th, I think the fact of Leicester having no Europe and the fact that a lot of injuries from last season are rectified, I do think Leicester are going to have a better season than last season. And I know a lot of Leicester fans are seeing no signings as a major issue because of how good the foundation of our team is and how injury prone it was last season. And if this team can stay fit, they could definitely challenge for Europe. And that is the main reason why I've put them there. We don't really need new signings, in my opinion. We could do with a right winger, but it's not like needed. We could always play Albright in there for another season or something like that. I just think we're going to get there, and I think we're going to get 7th. I am very optimistic about Leicester, so I could be completely wrong and we could come outside the top 10, but that is a situation which I'm just optimistic about, being as we've got a lot of our players back. Moving on to 6th, I have put Manchester United. Now, I was very tempted to put them 5th after their great pre-season which they are having, which is very good, obviously. However, I just think that in the Premier League, it's a different type of ball game where teams are a lot more intense than pre-season, and they have their best team out in the way that specifically against like Manchester United where they could beat them. I just think Manchester United have a lot of weaknesses. I know they brought in a new centre-back, Martinez, from Ajax, who is the shortest centre-back I think now in the league, who a lot of people are saying is really good. I'm not sure about him, to be honest, but that is just my opinion. I haven't really watched a lot of Eredivisie, so I could be completely wrong there. But I think they have a good team, it's just they've got a lot of holes and they need a central midfielder and probably another backup striker. And the whole Ronaldo situation looming over them isn't also a great thing to have in the Premier League because it's drama, and you don't really want drama in the Prem. But that is just my opinion, and we'll move on to 5th, which is Chelsea. Now, I'm adamant Chelsea coming outside the top 4. Their pre-season has been quite poor, in my opinion, but they have a great team. The only place I can see goals coming from is Sterling, to be honest. I'm not sure where else the goals are coming from. I know Mason Mount is a good player, but Sterling is the only proven goal scorer in that team really right now who can score a lot of goals in the Prem, and that is the issue I think they're going to have. I think the centre-back issue is also quite great as well, because they've obviously got Koulibaly in, who is a great centre-back, but will he be able to adapt to the Premier League? You've got Thiago Silva, who's getting quite old now, and then you've got a lot of young guys who are coming in as well. Will they be able to perform to the level to get them to top 4? I just don't see it happening, but again, it's my opinion, and I just see them coming outside to their London rivals, which is Arsenal, and I just really like Arsenal's team and their chemistry which they have. With me, chemistry is something that is extremely important in football and sports in general, in the terms of team sports and basketball, in basketball, football, and a lot of team sports around the world, because you can have a great player, like you can have Mason Mount, you can have Raheem Sterling, you can have all the best players in the world, but if they're not performing as a team, which I haven't seen Chelsea particularly do yet, I just think it's going to be hard to compete with a team that is so together with Arsenal. They have made some signings. Again, I'm not too sure on them. I haven't really watched a lot of the leagues they've brought them from. Gabriel Jesus is a very good signing, and he has done extremely well in pre-season, and I think he is going to be an amazing player next season. It's just whether he can perform to the level to get them to top 4, which I obviously back him to do. So I think that he'll do really good, and I just think that Arsenal are going to make that top 4 spot for the first time in a very long time. Moving on to 3rd place, I've gone for Liverpool. I know this is very controversial, but I just think Liverpool losing Mane is a lot bigger than people think it is. Mane is one of the best players to ever play for Liverpool. He is very good, and losing him is becoming quite underrated, in my opinion. The magnitude of losing him, because they've signed some good players. They've obviously got some good players at the club, but Mane was there for a long period of time and knew his job and knew his role, what he needed to do to make that team successful. So I just think Liverpool as a club are underestimating how big of a loss Mane is, as he was one of the best players in the Premier League last season. I just think it's a big loss for them, and it might affect them a lot, to be honest, in my opinion. Moving on to second, I have put Spurs, mainly because Tottenham have made very good signings. They've got one of the best managers in the world, in my opinion, and I just wanted to do a bit of a rogue shout and put them second there. I just think that they are going to be very successful playing under Conte and the way he wants to play now that he's got his players in. I just think they are going to be a great team, and that is just an opinion of mine. I'm going to talk about Man City extremely briefly because we all know Manchester City, best team in the Premier League by far. They've made better signings, not really lost anyone of importance who was in their starting lineup. I know they've lost Gabriel Jesus, they've lost Sterling, they've lost Zinchenko, but they're happy to let them go to their rivals because they know they don't really need them. And when they sign a left back, which I actually think will be Cucurella, eventually anyway, but I just think if they sign that left back, any left back really that is suitable, I think that they will be easily the title favourites and win it very quickly and very calmly, and then they can even focus on the Champions League, which is a very good thing for Manchester City because they really do need that as well. But that is the end of the video, guys. I'm sorry for the light and I'm sorry for the audio as well. I just wanted to record this video and get it out there as well. So if you have watched this far, thank you so much for watching, and I really do appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching.